Hi, Clara Chinavere, the Stepmom Coach, coming to you today with another Stepmom Wisdom tip. So today's question is, how do I discipline my stepkids? And this is a conversation that was sparked by some Twitter conversations I've had yesterday. But it's also a conversation that comes up often. How do I discipline my stepkids as a step-parent? Now, the short answer to this is you don't. And before you say, whoa, what's going on? I'm shutting off. Just hear me out, okay? So there's a reason why a lot of step-parent experts recommend that you don't discipline your stepkids, especially in the beginning of a relationship. And I'll say that it also depends on a lot of other circumstances. So it's not a one thing for one suggestion for everybody. So one thing is that, so let's put it this way. If you have very small children that live with you all the time, that's a different story. If you have children that come over to live with you every other weekend and they're teenagers, that's a different story. So let's go with little kids that live, your very young stepkids that live with you all the time, that have full custody of your stepkids. You would be disciplining your stepkids. After you and your husband have come to an agreement on what the house rules are, and that your kids and your stepkids see you coming together, and then you're there with your husband to raise and support them. So when it's little kids, it's not so much of an issue as when it's teenagers. Now let's suppose you're dealing with teenage stepkids, and they're with you every other weekend, and you feel like you need to be disciplining them. One of the big issues you're going to encounter is that your stepkids are not going to want to be disciplined by you. They expect that it'll be their parent, their dad, or their mom that will be disciplining them. There's a reason for that. One, your stepkids need to know that, you and them have built a relationship together. Meaning that, you don't come into a step-family relationship and start being or acting as a parent figure immediately. It goes, you move to that relationship over time slowly. And, it could be a year, it could be 2 years, it could be never. It's important to understand that in a step-family relationship, you may never be the disciplinarian of your stepkids. You may not want to discipline your stepkids. Your stepkids may never want you to discipline them. So it's a very different dynamics than a traditional family. You can't expect to come into building a step-family and acting as if it was like a first-time family. There are so many different things going on. And that means that you need different sets of tools to come to this. Now, you and your stepkids need to build a relationship together, which is based on trust and is based on respect. And depending on how long that takes, only then will the stepkids see you as being a person they can trust to discipline them. The other thing is that kids expect to be disciplined. I mean, they're not dumb, they're not stupid. They understand, they go to school, they understand there's rules in school, they understand that in an environment where we live in a social setting, everybody is expected to live by a certain amount of rules. This is the same at home. Now, sometimes people will say to me, but my husband doesn't want to discipline the kids because he's afraid that if he disciplines them, the kids won't want to come home, they won't love him. As a parent, that is our job. That is our job, to raise them and show them what it's like to be an adult. There's no such thing as they're too little to learn. Kids learn by our action, meaning that If you're a parent and you let them go and get away with a lot of things, these kids are not going to trust you. They're not going to respect you either, because they'll think like, my parents don't love me enough to stop me from doing what I inherently know it's not a good thing. And sometimes people will say to me, well, no, this isn't, kids don't know right from wrong. I don't think that's true. I think people know what's right and wrong, especially when they see what's happening around the world. They learn by observing their environment. And they also learn by the reaction other people have towards what is being done. So disciplining should and is a part of being a parent. And in a step family, it is part of supporting your spouse, your husband, and making sure that they discipline their kids when appropriately. Now, of course, as I said, it's not a good place for a step parent to discipline their kids, and a lot of step parents hate that advice of not disciplining their stepkids because they feel they're out of control. They don't have an opportunity to voice what's happening. And that's not true, because as a step parent, you can approach your husband. As a stepmom, you can approach your husband, your partner, and say, hey, I'm seeing a few things that are going on with the kids. Can we talk about it? So a lot of times it's just the approach. How do you approach your husband when there's issues of discipline? How do you let him know that there are certain things that are not going well and they should at least have a conversation about it? For example, being disrespectful towards you as a stepmom. We don't want any of our kids to be disrespectful to others. And so when they're disrespectful to us as a step parent, that hurts. And it damages the relationship not only with our husbands, but with the stepkids. So the best way to approach this is have a calm conversation with your husband and say, hey, listen, can we talk about what's happened here? This is what I saw happen. And so this would be ways of dealing with it. So you would say, this is what I saw happen. This is how I felt when so-and-so was being disrespectful towards me. And this is why I think it's not a good idea. Can we talk about ways to make sure this doesn't happen again? Now, there may be some pushback, there may not be, but look at ways to work as a team. And again, it's not meant to be easy, and I don't think parenting is ever easy, but work towards what is it that you want to achieve from having this conversation and from encouraging your husband to discipline the kids towards being more respectful towards what's happening. Another reason why it's not a good idea for a step parent to discipline the stepkids is the kids are going to resent you for it. One, because again, the approach is not there, the bond is not there, but they'll resent you because the parent is not doing their job, and then they'll be angry at you because the parent isn't doing their job. I've seen it many times where the kids are doing things expecting a parent, their mom or dad, doing something about the situation, to only have a step-parent come in and interfere. Now, I'm not saying that the stepkids will never appreciate it, but it'll take a long time for them to say or even acknowledge, thank you for being there. I know for us, in our case, I'm a stepmom to my husband's 2 daughters, and my husband is a stepdad to my son. And it hasn't always been easy, but as they go older and have kids of their own, they can now appreciate, the struggle of being a parent. And Again, it's a matter of working together. So come and, as a couple, decide what it is you want for your family. Create a family vision. Decide what are some of the behaviors that are acceptable and not acceptable in your family. And come with a game plan of how is this going to be handled when the kids break some of the rules you've established. What are the consequences of those actions if they break some of the rules you've established? And then also look at, being very consistent. That's another very important key is being very consistent in managing and taking care of that. If you put house rules and boundaries in your relationship, that those are being consistently handled by the same person. Over time, you'll be able to act as an authoritative person rather than the authoritating parent. And it'll bring you closer to the stepkids. It'll make less chaos for you in your relationship. It'll bring less stress if you let your husband, especially in the first years, deal with the disciplining issues. If you have questions or would like to share a comment, please do so below. I would love to hear from you. You can also private message me or send me an email to Claudette@Stepmom Coach. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. So enjoy your day, and I'll talk with you soon. Bye.